Hi, my name is Faye Woodhouse and I work for the Portsmouth Public Library. And today I'm gonna introduce you to a new type of art, and it's mainly for teens. And this is where we can use all of our creative talents to create a beautiful work of art. I'm gonna use the method of called Zentangle, and you'll see the book here called Zentangle. And this is a new method for learning to relax, have fun, creating images by drawing different types of patterns. Now, we call these patterns tangles. And you create tangles with a combination of dots. And you see the dots here. And you have lines, different lines. And simple curves. We have all kinds of curves. I want to show you some of those. And we have different kinds of angles. There are over 100 types of patterns that we use for Zentangle. And Zentangle art is not something that you plan, but you create it as you go along. So there is no up or down to Zentangle art. Zentangle is very new. It's only 12 years old. And you have very simple materials that you're going to use. Nothing that you have to go out and buy a lot of. For Zentangle, we're going to be using pen, pencils, and even markers. And sometimes scissors. Okay, I want to show you a pattern that I used. We did a shape, and I'm dealing with animals today. So I wanted to change my pattern into one like this. Okay, and from a simple pattern like, from a simple pattern like this to one like this. Okay, and I use a combination of patterns to create this particular picture. First of all, I used the Xander pattern, and you'll see that illustrated in the tail part of the fox, the animal. And then I used the Crescent Moon for the top part, the head, and different other kinds of shapes. And these shapes are very simple, and I will talk about them and how you're going to make them as soon as we get started. I just want to show you what I'm using today. Then we can use we call this the tipple pattern. The tipple pattern looks like bubbles, and they are illustrated. Sometimes we'll see where we have a fish or something blowing out bubbles, and this is our tipple pattern. Then you'll see another type of pattern that is kind of simple as well, and this is called the Kiko Pattern. And I want to illustrate that pattern. That's, where do I have it at? Right here. It looks like a lot of little squares, and then you use your own type of pattern because it's circular and it's squared. Okay, and one other kind of pattern that we used today was called the hollow ball pattern. And that pattern, you have a combination of lines going under and over. So it's something very, very simple. Now, with the different patterns, I started out using the Crescent Moon pattern. And this pattern, I drew a little moon across the top part. Let me move these other ones out of your way so that you can see. You draw a pattern that looks like a little cap, and you color it in. And you can use your pen or your pencil to darken in the space. Now for your Crescent Moon pattern, to expand it, you just draw lines around the pattern once you put it on there, and this to make the pattern go down. I use it in different places on my particular animal. I used it even, okay, let me hold this up for you. I use the Crescent Moon here and here, and I just darken it in as I drew the pattern. And then to expand the pattern, you draw as many lines as you like on your animal, and to make it look a little bit hollow. Okay, and this is to fill in the spaces. Now, if you notice, I used for my tail, they tell you to use the Zentangle pattern. This is the one that I used. The first thing that I did was to make some bands. Okay, we did the bands on the fox here and here. You can make as many bands as you like, and then you're gonna go through these bands. I'm gonna hold this up so you can see. You're gonna do lines through first, and then you're gonna make other lines coming through that pattern. Okay. Now, of course, on my other fox, I had more lines than this, but we're going to create our own pattern today. So it's not about how well you do it or how well I do it, but you're using your own creative genius. And you can see that it's coming together, and we are creating right here. Now, I want to show you this book here of some of those patterns that were used. Now, this book is called Zentangle for Kids, and you can find this in the library, or even you can go online and you can find patterns, these same kinds of patterns. They have over 100 patterns that you can use to create your pictures. I want to show you some of the beautiful ones that we have in this book here. A seahorse. And with the seahorse, you notice that we use different kinds of patterns. Some of the patterns that I just showed you, we use with the seahorse. Okay, we use the Crescent Moon, and you can see that right there. And you start off with the darkening spaces, and you expand it. Okay, we also use the tipple, where we have all the little bubbles on our seahorse. And see, we are creating, we are closing that. And here's the pattern before I got started. But then afterwards, we added different other kinds of patterns. Okay, we have lots. Now, the fox is the other one that I did, and you can see it in color here. I did it in black and white. But you start again with the top. We did with the Crescent Moon, and we expanded our lines, and we put it there, and then we use other kinds of lines here. We use the Zentangle pattern to draw lines and our bands. And as we went along, we use other patterns that we could incorporate. So it's not about any kind of particular pattern, but you can use any pattern you like. And that's the same thing with the cupcake. So you don't always have to just use your standard colors of just up and down colors, black and white or whatever, but you can expand it and use lines and strings in order to do your picture. Now, we call these strings when we do our Zentangle, because this is exactly what we are using. And we start off making, if you want to use something simple, you start off with how you draw your strings and your patterns, and you draw your square, and then you connect the dots, and then we incorporate the other items in there. And this is how we create our Zentangle. Now, if you're interested in doing this kind of artwork, it is so easy to find online. Okay, you will go to you'll Google the internet and look up Pinterest, and they will show you different patterns and give you tutorials step by step in order to teach you how to do tangles and patterns. And thank you for participating.